Shalom, everyone. Servant R.D. Vermont, Kohaya. Kingdom of Heaven is at hand. And I'm coming to you with another video entitled, The Scepter Shall Not Depart from Judah. That's right. My scriptural text would be drawn from Genesis, the 49th chapter and the 10th verse. He was speaking blessings over Judah. Now look what he said in Genesis 49 and 10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. That's a powerful scripture, brothers and sisters. It really serves us in privileged information of what's going on today. As I watched, my wife and I, as we watched the sentencing of Derek Chauvin, the one that murdered George Floyd, as we sat and watched and listened to all the testimony, George Floyd's daughter and his brothers and even the mother of Derek Chauvin, as we watched and listened to the sentence being read and how his eyes were shifting and drifting, I told my wife, I said, I bet you and said to himself dozens of times, why did I ever put my knee on that man's neck? As he sat there and the verdict and the judgment and the sentence were delivered, I see how the Father is slowly moving on his children's behalf. As I read all the comments under the video, how people were very upset, how Gentiles are all up in arms, even though we witnessed him put his knee on the man's neck. These Gentiles are very upset because they see that their position on the world stage, which is called white supremacy, that they have benefited from for so many years, is diminishing. It's crumbling like a cookie. And they are expressing their concerns about that because they know if their dominion and if their privilege and if their power that the Father gave them, as it says in Daniel, we read where the Father instructed Gabriel to deliver to Daniel a message telling Daniel, it said that the kingdom is given to whomever. The Father gives his kingdom to all nations whatever nation he desires. But the scepter, the power, the authority, the civic and military power. Think about that. The civic and military power is given to Judah. That's the scepter. And it's obvious who Judah is, because Judah is one of the 12 tribes of the patriarch Jacob, or Israel. And we understand that his children are scattered to the four corners of the earth. But what is the most desired country that people want to visit on the world stage, on the globe? It's the United States of America. That is the most powerful country on the face of the earth. Why? Have you ever asked yourself why? It's because they had captives that were from the tribe of Judah. It's obvious. If the scepter would not depart from Judah, guess what? All you got to look at where the power of the world lies. And so what you must understand, our plight and our dilemma is slowly but surely coming to its conclusion. And all while we were captives in this land, guess what? We never lost our scepter. We always had it. We never lost our status in the Father's eyes. But on the world stage, we became the lowest of the low. It's similar to our brother Messiah, our King. When he came down and he humbled himself as a servant, as a man, and they spat on him. They took him down to the lowest degree, but they never could take that scepter. Now you look at this, Genesis 49, this prophecy, Genesis 49:10. It says, the scepter shall not depart from Judah. That means we had the scepter all along. That means even though it seems like we are the muck in the bottom of the totem pole, and it seems like we cannot get a fair share in any of the wealth in this country. You know why? Or in the world. You know why? Because it's already ours. And it's loaned to a people. The Father loaned it to the Gentiles. But the scepter that's been given to us, it belongs to us. Therefore, the world, the earth belongs to us. We are just going through a period of time, a purification. We must understand that. So it's foolish for any one of the Israelites that's in captive here or around the world to continue to look to the Gentiles for some type of validation. We got the scepter. It says it right here. It says, shall not depart from Judah. And like I said, it's obvious who Judah is, because you find that people all over the world want to come to America. People from England, people from the UK, people from Africa, all those various nations in Africa. They were breaking their necks to get here in America. Why? The scepter is here. Therefore, Judah is here. And who were the slaves in this land that this land prospered and fared sumptuously off of? Slavery empowered and enriched the whole world. And so, understanding that the whole world have obtained their wealth through slavery, but the paramount of that wealth and power is here in the United States. Now, there's a lot of wealth in the so-called Middle East, where the Arabs enslaved. They were the first ones to enslave the children of Israel. But their power is second. It's not. It doesn't even come close to the power that the United States have. This is why they go everywhere, all over the world, and dominate. This is why they will never let Judah go, because they understand more than we do that the scepter shall always be with Judah. It shall not depart. So we understand. As I look at all the various artists, I look at some of the artists in Trinidad and Tobago, when they get a authorization to come to America, those artists are happy as a lark. Why? Because this is a land, and everyone knows, everyone understands, of many, many riches. And it's just something about this place where people from other countries, they come here and they feel it. Harry and Meghan, when they left the Buckingham Palace, or Sussex, or whatever you call that place, Sussex, or whatever, when they left and denounced the throne, or their involvement, not the throne, but they denounced their royalty, or whatever you call it. They left. I don't even like to call them royalty. We are the royalty. We are the ones that have the scepter, not them. But Harry and Meghan, they left. They went to Canada. And from Canada, they made their way to the U.S. of A. Look at all the ones that came from Barbados and Trinidad. Look at Nicki Minaj and Rihanna from the island, but they up here faring sumptuously. Sheila Jackson Lee, she down there in Jamaica, raised in Jamaica, but she up here, then had the nerve to say that reparations being given in way of a check is wrong. She's not even from this country, and she up here reaping the benefits of the labor of the ones that got the scepter. Think about Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, he tried his movement in Jamaica. It just didn't take off. When it came here, it began to get traction. Marcus Garvey movement in Jamaica was similar to Kohaya's page. But once he moved and relocated to the Americas, he began to take off. He understood the scepter is with Judah and it shall not depart. So you must understand something, brothers and sisters. You got the power. You got the authority. You just got to go through the process. Deuteronomy 4:20. We're going to read a passage of scripture that's very important and apropos to the subject matter today. It say, but Yahuwah have taken you and brought you forth out of the iron furnace, even unto Egypt, to be unto him a people of inheritance, as ye are this day. Think about that, brothers and sisters. He took us out of the iron furnace. The furnace is very important, and that's what we're in, and that's what we get so frustrated. Patience is the key and virtue to this walk with the Most High. We can't give up. We got to wait on Yahuwah, as it says in the Psalm. We must understand the furnace is why George Floyd was killed at the hand of Derek Chauvin, because we as a people are still in the furnace, but that did not cancel out the prophecy that we have the scepter. Understand that. We must go through. Now, we read in Deuteronomy where Moses told the Israelites that the Father brought us out of the iron furnace to be an inheritance for the Most High. That's very powerful, brothers and sisters. And many may say, well, that was then. Why are we going through it now? And I would encourage them to look at Ecclesiastes, the 1st chapter and the 3rd verse. It says, what profit hath a man of all his labor, which he taketh under the sun? One generation passeth away. Pay attention to this. One generation passeth away, and another generation cometh, but the earth abideth forever. You understand that? So Solomon is saying that one generation come, and that same generation go, and another generation replaces that generation. But guess what? Things remain the same, even though there is a cycle of events that happen. One generation, they die, another generation, they die. It's the same thing with these events that we are experiencing. While we continue to go through, it's purification that is going on, the purification process. We must understand that scripture in Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, the 20th verse, where it says that we were in the iron furnace. It's cyclical. Some of the theologians call it a fusion of horizons. It continued to recur over and over. But like it says in Genesis 49:10, the scepter shall not depart. No matter how things come around and back around and around and around, the scepter remains. So Judah, Israel, understand what is going on. It's a promise. Let us read on in Ecclesiastes, verse 5 of the first chapter. The sun also riseth, and the sun goeth down, and hasteth to his place where he arose. You see that? That's the cyclical fashion. The Father allowing things to come over and over and over. This is why we read in Romans, where it said what is written aforetime was written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scripture, might have hope. I'm trying to give you hope, Israel. You got the scepter. This is why they will never let you go. This is why everything that you created, they took and profited off of it. Briggs and Stratton, that's a company where Gentiles are receiving the benefits and the financial rewards. That's a lawnmower created by a Hebrew. Traffic signals. Cities around the world are benefiting and functioning and conducting commerce and transportation, all at the behest of what a Hebrew invented. Right here in the valley of death, where Judah resides. Wake up, brothers and sisters. Fiber optics. I had to switch my internet service to a more proficient internet service. And they got fiber optics, which was created by Judah. The scepter shall not depart. No matter what comes, no matter what goes. Understand the power that the Father placed within you through that prophecy, brothers and sisters. And I can go on. Just like I forestated about Sheila Jackson Lee. How she came up. And now she up here in the Senate, Congressional Black Caucus, enjoying the benefits of the backs of Judah. She's an Israelite, but she need to recognize that the scepter is with Judah. And it's obvious where Judah is, because this is the land of plenty, and people flocking to it for years, for decades. They've been flocking to this land. Don't you think your government knows who you are? The scepter will not depart. Let me finish this up. We go back to Genesis 49:10. Check it out. It say, the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet. Laws remain the same, brothers and sisters. Rules changes. Did you hear what I said? Laws remain the same. The law of polarity is the law of polarity. The law of gender is the law of gender. Now we have wayward individuals that's trying to change the law of gender. They can't change it. They can only make the rules to manipulate their wayward thinking. But you need the law of gender for everything to function. Right now, this house that I'm in right now, my home, this chair that I'm sitting in, this desk that I'm sitting at, that's holding up the computer and holding up the microphone, the computer and the microphone itself is functioning because of the law of gender. It doesn't change no matter what someone may think, no matter what someone's sexual orientation may be. You need the law of gender for things to function, and it will be like that It will not change. And so if the Father's laws won't change, guess what? What the Father said in his book of law about Judah, it will not change. The crux of the message is to understand who you are. Believe who you are and what the scripture said. You come up in this land. Believe what it said, the scepter shall not depart. In the 60s, you had Motown, and it took the world by storm. In the 70s came rap. And look at all the cultures that's benefiting off of. Look at all the billion-dollar record companies that's making money hand over fist of the creation of those that got the scepter. And I could go on and on and on. But I think you got the crux. And the crux is understand, because your oppressors understand who you are. They change their rules. They call them laws, but they rules. They change their rules and they manipulate their rules every day. And their rules always surrounds us. There's always something that's centered around us. Why? Because we got the scepter. Just let your own intuition kick in and show you the nuances of what that scepter represent, brothers and sisters. But understand this, the iron furnace that we must go through is coming to its conclusion. So understand, just because you can't visually perceive it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It exists. The power that you have exists. Just because you can't see the results of that scepter, the scepter is there. Just like what Paul said. He said in Romans that the invisible things in the Most High are clearly seen. Then Paul turned back around and told the Corinthians, the things that you can see are temporal, but the things that are unseen are eternal. That scepter which is unseen is eternal. Understand, brothers and sisters. And that scepter, it denotes authority. It denotes having the mastery of things. You will not believe all the things that we as a people created. Look at Jack Daniels. The family has made billions of dollars off a formula that a slave created. The scepter. Man, we can do this all day. But understand, the Father is bringing things back to the way they were at the beginning. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh. Shiloh means secured. Shiloh means annexed, or fastened, or anchored. Understand that, brothers and sisters. Until Shiloh come, when the consummation is fully manifest, when everything is secured in the eternal, when the eternal and that which is temporal come into unison, we will always have the scepter. And the only way that scepter would be transformed and transferred from Judah into someone else's hand is when Shiloh come. And that's talking about our brother, Messiah, and King. That's why he say all power is given unto me in heaven and in earth. The scepter has been transferred to him, and he's from the tribe of Judah. And he's our brother, and he's not selfish. So we still have the scepter. Walk and talk, as the Migos say. Walk it like you talk it. Understand that there are certain things that the Father has given you to function on his behalf in the name of the Most High, Yahweh. Begin to understand that, believe, and walk therein until our brother Messiah return and set the record straight, as Brother Jacob says. So you understand what I'm saying, brothers and sisters. Judah has the scepter, and our king and our Messiah, who is from the tribe of Judah, the lion, he's about to break open the seals, which is a representation of the scepter. The seventh seal will be broken, and all of the vials of judgment. That's the scepter. It's the Father allowing our brother and Messiah to bring all things to the way they were at the beginning. And you understand that in Matthew 27 and 25 to 27, we read, Matthew 27:27. I just quote it for the sake of time because I'm about to end this. Yeshua was given a crown when they mocked him. They put a robe on him, and they put a scepter in his hand, a reed in his hand. You read it, Matthew 27:27. And they bowed down to him and say, "Hail, King of the Hebrews." He didn't stop him. And guess what? They gave him a scepter. Did he refuse it? No, he took it. Read it for yourself. That was a whole prophecy. What was the prophecy? That just like he went through the iron furnace, his people would go through the iron furnace. Understand what all of this represents. He came out victorious with all power. And he promised us, if we would endure, that we would sit on thrones. That's who you are. So quit running. Stop all the shucking and bucking and dancing and shuffling over the crumbs that the Father has given these Gentiles. They ain't got nothing. You got the scepter. Just walk out the conclusion and understand that the Father ain't finished with you. Once he bring you out of that fire, this is the fourth generation. We read in the commandments in Exodus, the 20th chapter, where he said he visit the iniquity of those to the third and fourth generation. After the fourth generation, after 70 weeks, after the 400 mark, judgment commences. And the Father promises will be fulfilled. The scepter shall not depart from Judah. Shalom.